Hey everybody, this is Giancarlo Alino reporting for Sportskeeda MMA, and I'm happy to be joined by my guest today, who's going to be talking about an exciting event coming up this Friday. He's headlining Karate Combat 43. He is a former WEC and UFC lightweight champion. He's Anthony Showtime Pettis. How you doing, Anthony?
I can't complain, bro. Just chilling.
That's great. And Anthony, before we get started, like congratulations are in order. I saw in Millions your watch along kicked off with a big win there. Was it ever in doubt there with Ryan Garcia and that bet you placed?
Now, I mean, it took longer than I expected, but no, I knew what he had to do, man. Like if he would have lost that fight, or if it wouldn't have went that way, his stock would have dropped big time. And the guy he fought was kind of tailor made for that. He walk up, Philly shell. It just was a matter of time.
And on Millions, like you saw the watch along there. Is that something you're going to be doing more of?
I
Watch
will be,
along
yeah.
bets?
I will be, yeah. I think that was my first time doing something with Millions. Kind of want to see how their platform worked, but I think it was a good reach, and I think it's a good way to put my bets out there. I mean, I won't do a lot of crazy stuff, but that was just something to kick it off.
That's great. And it brings us to Karate Combat 43 this coming Friday. It's an exciting one because I'm sure when fans saw you're going to be taking on Benson Henderson, you're taking your rivalry from the cage to the pit. Like, how did this all come together there?
Man, it kind of just came out of nowhere, really. I was getting ready for a boxing match in February, and then I got a phone call from a mutual friend of the president of Now Karate Combat, Asim, and myself. And the opportunity, like they were, they said that the city, obviously it's Las Vegas, so I'm like, I don't got to travel anywhere. They said the opponent and the purse lined up exactly with what I was looking for, so it just made sense.
And how has this maybe like changed your training? Because like you're going to be in a pit, so is it changing everything in your striking, or is everything along the same lines as when you were competing for an MMA fight?
Well, it's definitely different than MMA, but I come from a traditional martial arts background, so I think it favors more of my styles. I competed as a kid, all the way until probably 17. I was very competitive in the point sparring circuit, and then when I switched over to mixed martial arts, just because there was no place for me to kind of grow at that area, like where karate combat wasn't around, and mixed martial arts was the biggest thing that you could do at that time, and that's why I switched over to MMA. But since I was 5 years old through 17, I competed in point sparring tournaments my whole life.
And what were those like competing in point sparring?
Definitely different. I could never become a world champ. Sergio was the only world champ of my family. I got two brothers, my older brother and my younger brother. Serge was the only one that became a world champ. His style just kind of flavored more of like safe, being scoring points and not getting scored on. And I had that like crazy, jump in your face, throw spin kick style. I was very entertaining, I think, in point sparring, but I just didn't have that game that Serge put together. But I always knew like I could whoop the guy's ass that I was fighting. I'm like, man, if it was a real fight, I'd win. And that's why I kind of switched over to mixed martial arts.
And karate combat, like I saw a few events as a fan. I got hooked just seeing like their presentation looks great. What was your maybe first exposure to the karate combat?
Yeah, honestly, the karate coin. I was pretty big into the crypto space, and I saw what they were doing with the karate coin and how they were getting fans hooked on. Because I mean, when you bet on somebody, I don't care who you are. If you have a little bit of skin in the game, it makes you more interested. It makes you want to sweat that whatever it is, a competition or game. That's how my first introduction was to it. And then once I started seeing like Raymond Daniels go over there, he got signed, and I watched his fights and seeing like what he could do. Because when in mixed martial arts, you really can't throw them jump spin kicks and like the crazy moves. Because if you get taken down or you fall on your back, you lose the whole round. Whereas in karate combat, they got 5 seconds to do ground and pound, and you can still fight off your back. So it's not like it's not a make or break in the pit. So I'm excited to go out there and throw the stuff I've been throwing as a kid because I had to dumb my game down for mixed martial arts. Even though I had a flashy style, like I simplified my game big time. I had to adapt the Muay Thai stance. I had to look out for the low kicks, definitely the takedowns. So you got to have a lower base. Whereas now with this, I get to have the higher stance where the spinning jump kicks come from.
And what's it like when you're training? Like I know when you're training for a new opponent, it's something different. But Benson Henderson, you fought twice before, over a decade now, and like competing now at this stage of your careers, is it different preparing for him, or does it make it a little bit easier knowing that you might know what to expect in terms of striking?
I don't know what to expect, honestly. We haven't fought in such a long time. And our last fight, I hit him with like 5 body kicks, and that was the total striking. Our first fight, which happened a long time ago, we got to exchange a lot. But then you put the cage in there, He was holding me on the cage a lot. He could take me down. So like the game plan was a lot more safe on the wrestling because I know how good he was on the ground. Whereas this one, I'm not really worried. Like there's no takedowns, like I mean, there's sweeps and there's body lock takedowns, but he can't dominate me for 3 minutes on the ground, or that they can't hold a position. So that definitely changes it up. And the pit for sure, like not offensive wise, but defensive wise. Like I'm gotta be very careful of like my stepping backwards because you don't want to fall back onto that pit and be subject to axe kicks and the rods, the punches. Like I've never been in that position before. I tried to implement it here. Like we built like a little makeshift ramp, but it's not the same. It's not like you can't really until you got somebody in front of your face trying to take you out. You don't really know how it feels. So that's probably the biggest difference I would say is like the actual shape of the pit, but it also allows me to run up that thing, bro. Because like coming off of a vertical wall is way harder than coming off of a slant. So yeah, I'm excited to go out there and just see what I can do with that thing.
And is it like a kid in the candy store type of thing? Like your mind, you're seeing all the pit, like all things you can jump off of. Does that get your creative juices flowing?
Man, it makes me feel like I'm going back to my roots. That's the coolest thing about it because I still have Taekwondo gyms. I still have traditional martial arts schools that teach. We still teach full contact. I have a hybrid system because like once I learn Muay Thai and I learn like the karate moves that actually work, and then I come from my Taekwondo base, I just married kind of a program that I teach my kids a real self defense. It's legit. I mean, I'm one of the guys that could say it. Like I teach my hybrid of martial arts, but in a real system where we don't like now my gyms, I have something to train for. Like I got these kids that, they would be monsters in point sparring. And then when they turned 15, we had to move them to MMA because there was no place for them to compete at. Where now, they're going to see me being the first guy on there, the poster child of it. And, my gyms are going to be changed for this style of training.
And just you even brought up there before, you touched on it, that first fight. It's almost 13 years to the day once you guys step into the pit. And I was in high school at the time, and I remember seeing a clip of that Showtime kick, and already I was a fan. Like what I saw there was like something you would see in a movie. Like all these years later, does it still surprise you that it's had this lasting impact on the sport of MMA as a whole?
No, it doesn't, bro. Because I mean, it was like I was probably one of the first fighters on ESPN top 10. Like when I did that move, like MMA wasn't covered on ESPN. And like it was barely even talked about. We had Spike TV, we had the Versus Network where WC was at, and that was about it. But then when I did that move, and I was on ESPN top 10, and I remember seeing it on ESPN. I was like, and I was 23 at the time, and I was like, sheesh, like I made it, bro. Like I was like, yeah, I did it. I put MMA on the map. And then I just was at the UFC Dana White Contender Series. I saw I forget the guy's name, but he tried to do a Showtime kick twice. I'm like, man, I left my mark on the sport, bro, and it's super cool.
And just even on that, you're a fighter that's competed in a number of weight classes throughout your career. And for the longest time, lightweight was considered the best in the sport. Now bantamweight has recently caught up, and featherweight, light heavyweight. In your opinion, what is the weight class in the sport that you think is the deepest and hardest to win a championship in the current day?
I still think lightweight. I mean, if you look at how many lightweights there are on the roster, and how deep that top 10 is, I mean, it's just the average weight of a man, bro. Like, there's more men that are weigh 150, well, that can make 155 pounds. And then you go to welterweight, it's a 15-pound jump, and then you go to middleweight, another 15-pound jump. So like featherweight is kind of little smaller guys, and they still have that crazy pop. But at lightweight, we can knock each other out. We have the power to knock each other out, but we still have that cardio to go crazy on there. So I would say lightweight's probably definitely the hardest division.
And just speaking of lightweight, the night after your event there in Karate Combat, UFC closing out with a massive event, and one of your past opponents there, Tony Ferguson, getting back
Yeah.
in there, taking on Paddy the Baddy. You fought him at a time when he was like the boogeyman in the division. Like, what was it like preparing for a fight like somebody as unorthodox as Tony Ferguson?
Man, I took that fight, I forget, like 21 days notice, or like it was like 20 days notice. It was a very short camp. So I didn't really get to train for like the elbows and the gas tank that he had, but he was coming off a knee surgery. So we knew that. We knew like, oh, let's attack that front leg. I had some success in that fight, bro. Like we had some fun. That was a fun fight. That was like one of those fights where even now I look back and watch that fight. I'm like, man, that was a fun fight. Even though I got cut up and stuff, there's blood. Like I look back and I'm like, man, that was that was probably one of my, I wouldn't say best performances, but the most fun I've had in the octagon. And it happens, bro. Like the longer you are, the more time you put into that octagon, the more likely you're gonna come up shorthanded. Like it's just a game of numbers. Like you put yourself out there that for that long of time. I mean, shit just happens, man. So I hopefully he can bounce back. I think another one of my teammates, Jared Gordon, he fought Patty Pillman, kind of exposed him with where his level is really at. So I think Tony should have some success in this fight. I mean, and it's just MMA is crazy, man. Anything can happen.
What do you think of the videos that come out of the Hell Week training? Like, do you think he's overtraining? Like, or do you not subscribe to that when some fighters come on saying maybe he's overdoing it a little bit and should just be sticking on like grappling and striking when facing a guy like Patty?
Well, I mean, he's never been like out of shape. It's like it was never the thing of him like not coming into camp like gassing out. He's never. I don't think he's ever gassed out. Even when I fought him, he was throwing numbers like crazy. So I don't think it's like. I think it's more of a mental thing for him. Like being around a guy like Goggins, bro. Like, come on, you're like I read his books and I do my cardio and I'm already inspired. So imagine like being in the training room with him and hearing that inspiration. So I think man, whatever Tony needs to make himself go. I mean, and he's been doing it forever. Maybe he just wanted a change of pace, a change of scenery, and another motivation in his corner.
And you're a fighter too. Like you've had a lengthy career, and then you take some boxing fights. You're taking out karate combat fights. What gets you motivated at this stage of your career?
Man, honestly, I was gonna really focus on boxing this year. Like I was gonna go really hard on boxing, and it was a new sport for me. I mean, not new sport, but it was something I haven't competed in. I had my first fight in boxing at 200 pounds. I was like, I think I'm the only first guy to beat a former champion in their debut. And Roy Jones Jr., bro, like I couldn't say no to that one. And all respect to Roy, he's still the man. But now I wanted to go prove like I really can do this in boxing, man. So like that was what I was getting ready for. And I think what makes me excited is the challenge. Like if I got a guy that has a name that has like recognition, like the PFL tournament format was not the best thing for me. It made me honestly second guess if I wanted to do MMA anymore. Like the bubble, like during COVID, it was really hard times for me. Like I was having a baby. I just had a 2-year-old daughter at the time, well, a baby at that time, and it made me second guess if I wanted to compete in mixed martial arts. And then, I got through the season, I got some time off and I took a boxing fight just to see how it feels. And I got a little recharge, some more energy, some more like, a want to do it again. Because I mean, I have a lot of other stuff going on in my life that, I could definitely focus on, this family being one of them. But I have a love for the competition, bro. So like, I still haven't had a chance to get out there and feel a full crowd, like a sold out crowd, like I used to feel in the UFC days. And like, so I'm excited just to get that kind of energy again.
And is the type of opponents you're looking for like similar like MMA fighters into boxing, or do you want to go that Francis Ngannou road and maybe go at it and full steam ahead there in your next couple of fights?
Full steam ahead. I'm gonna go for some real boxing, man. I mean, like obviously, if an opportunity pops up in between that, but like me and my coach Jorge Capetillo, he's a guy here in Vegas. We had a plan, to make our name in real boxing. Fight some real boxers. I mean, I sparred Caleb Plant. I sparred. I just got done sparring Lara, another amazing champion out. That might have beat Canelo, like very close, probably one of the closest guys to beat Canelo. I just sparred him for my last hard sparring session. He's a southpaw like Ben. So I kind of wanted to make sure, even though I'm getting ready for this karate combat, to stay in that boxing realm, make sure my I'm sharp with my defense. So I think, yeah, definitely go after some real boxing.
That's great to see. And also like just now, like just curious too, like you're a fighter that you've done it all, you've seen it all in the sport. Who are some of the fighters maybe in the UFC that you maybe make an effort to whenever their fight's up, you got to go watch it?
Bro, I'm going to the UFC tonight. Like I live in Vegas, so
Oh,
I'm right after this interview. I'm gonna go check out the fights tonight. I'm a fight fan. I go to every boxing fight. Like I'm blessed to live in Vegas. Like literally, I go to a fight every weekend, whether it's local MMA or even my fight show. And I'm traveling around the world putting on APFC fight shows. I'm just a fan of the sport. So I think combat sports is my life. Luckily for me, my wife loves it too, so she comes to all the fights with me. But yeah, I would say like right now, like guys that I'm excited to watch, Sean O'Malley, one of those guys. I love his style, bro. Like the way he competes and the way he like uses his striking, flawless orthodox switching. Israel Adesanya, striker as well. Kobe Covington, honestly, even though a lot of people hate on him, he is a gas tank like crazy, bro. And his striking with his wrestling, very impressive. Leon Edwards, that's gonna be a dope ass fight. I mean, that's another a good guy I like to watch. Obviously, Sergio Pettis, my little bro. I mean, there's so many, and then in boxing, man, David Benavidez right now. Benavidez is on fire. I just went to his last fight. I wouldn't say he made it look easy, but he's for real the Mexican monster, bro. So yeah, David Benavidez is one of my favorite boxers to watch, and Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant's another boxer.
Great. And just a couple final questions here. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about your former teammate in fighting, and now he's in pro wrestling. CM Punk made his big return to WWE. Did
Yeah,
you get a chance to catch his return there at Survivor Series?
I did, bro. And I was surprised like everybody else, honestly. One second.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm still cutting weight right now. But yeah, so I had CM Punk as a special guest for APFC the
Yep.
weekend before he announces, well, before they announced his comeback. He didn't say nothing about it. So we were hanging out at APFC chilling. Nate Diaz was there, Frank Mir was there, Rampage Jackson was there, Yair Rodriguez. So we had a squad in Milwaukee. It was a dope event. And he didn't say nothing about it, bro. One of the most humblest guys you ever meet, and one of the hardest working guys you ever meet. So I was very excited for him. I texted him right away. And I think his response was like, "Let's take over the world, brother." And I'm like, "Yeah, let's go, man. It's awesome."
That's great to see. Are you gonna go see him now? Like, if WrestleMania pops up, is that one you got to see CM Punk coming out and experience that crowd reaction?
Yeah, you know what? I think he's coming to Vegas pretty soon. At the end of the year, they're coming out to Vegas for sure. I gotta go check him out. Sorry, my daughter's calling me.
No worries. And just also your career, like you're a manager, fight promoter, fighter, like you wear a lot of different hats. Just curious, if you were to see the younger version of yourself that was making his MMA debut and he would ask the established Anthony Pettis for advice, what advice would you give to him?
Keep going, man. Like the biggest thing is learn from your failures. Because I used to be so afraid to fail. I think when you have the success like I had, that really quick success. I fought 4 times in the WEC world champion, supposed to fight for the UFC world title. Like it happened really quick. You get afraid of failure, and you kind of like you stop growing as a fighter and as an athlete because you're so afraid of failure. And then once I had those failures, I'm like, man, that's not what I'm identified by. Like there's more to me. There's more to my life. Setbacks will happen, but learn from them failures and keep that growth mindset. As long as I had that growth mindset, the sky's the limit.
Great advice. And Anthony, before we wrap up here and let you go, how can our viewers here at Sportskeeda MMA stay up to date with everything you're doing and follow you on social media?
Showtime Pettis across all platforms. Make sure you guys tune in. Karate Combat free on YouTube. So everybody be watching that thing. I'm gonna put on a show against Benson Henderson next Friday night. And yeah, check me out on Showtime Pettis. Showtime Pettis at everything on social media.
Highly recommend that follow and highly recommend checking that out. Karate Combat, Anthony Pettis, Benson Henderson, the trilogy. Anthony, I appreciate you sharing your time and coming on here on
Thank you, bro.
Sportskeeda MMA, and wish you all the best of luck this Friday, man.
Appreciate it, bro. Thank you.